So, hi everyone, thank you very much for watching or listening today. Absolute pleasure to be here. Today I have a very special guest. Today's guest has competed in quite a few forms of combat, no rules, street fights for King of the Streets, bare knuckle fights. He's competed in Pure Violence, I believe it's called, which is a German organization, similar vein, no rules. He's competed in K1 and kickboxing, I believe. So today's guest, make sure I get this right now, Johan Kalambura. I'm pronouncing that right,
Yeah,
aren't I? Good.
yeah.
You have to practice that. I'm not messing around. It's a very cool name though, and we've got some really good stuff to get into today with your fighting career so far. Very exciting. So, but before we get into any of that, I'd just like to say big thank you for coming on, and big thank you for making the time. By the way, much
Yeah, thank
appreciated.
you for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So, starting at the beginning, I think is a good place to start with King of the Streets itself. Now, with this, some people will know about what it is, they'll know about how it works and so on, and some people won't know. So you know what I mean. There'll be some people who are familiar and some people who are unfamiliar. So starting at the beginning, can you explain a little bit about King of the Streets, about how it works, and what the format of fighting is with no rules?
Well, they are pretty simple. No rules means no rules.
Hmm.
Actually, there are a few rules. You can agree to to add some submissions to the fight. My fight was without submissions because I don't do jiu-jitsu or stuff like that. Krav Maga or whatever it's called. We both agreed to go to a knockout or give up fight. Yeah. So you can also do it, as I said, with submissions. And the organization, I can't talk about the organization because I'm obviously not a part of it. But from a fighter's perspective, sometimes someone who was a guest over there, they do their job pretty well and pretty well organized. They're like machines. It's everything is in its place and everything was the way they said it will be. There were no holes, there were no mistakes, nothing. It was everything was punctual, and they even did a little bit more than they promised. For me, I don't know how it worked with other fighters or whatever, but to me they were more than fair. And so yeah, I know what it looks like to normal people, to people, even to people, some people who who are in combat sports and these forms of violence or whatever. Not everybody likes it. Some people do. Not everybody who is in boxing or kickboxing or MMA, not everybody is up for it, and not everybody salutes it. Not everybody think it's a good idea because probably it isn't. You know, we're fighting on a concrete floor or a hard floor, no mats, nothing. You're fighting. There are no referees. The two people or three people who are in the cage, they're there to, you know, their role, from what I saw, their role is not to allow the winner to get too crazy with, you know, with the ground and pound, or you know, they're practically to save the loser, nothing much. And so when I first saw a video on YouTube, because I was looking for a way to earn some money extra apart from my job, and I thought it would be a good idea to fight, you know, but I didn't fight right away when I saw it. I didn't sign up right away because they don't give the money to the loser, and I need the money whatever I do. And like 3 or 4 or 6 months later, I contacted them and signed up for a fight. They found me a nice crazy opponent. You probably saw the fight, and yeah, so I sat in my car and drove over there and did the fight. Went back home.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And that explains a bit about how it works. Most people will know that, but some people won't. So, we have to explain that. And it explains about your motivation, which I think is very cool. With the fight itself, can you walk us through, the fight? Like I say, again, some people will have seen it, some people haven't. So can you walk us through like your memories of the fight? You know what you like best about it, and just how it all went down, how it all happened.
Yeah, well, I can tell you how it looked, what that day looked like. We were brought to the place where the fights were about to happen, and I was surprised by the number of people who were there because I've never seen. I don't think they did such a big event before or after because it was, I don't know, there were hundreds of people, really, really a big event. There were like, I think 12 or 13 fights altogether. And I think that was the biggest event ever that they made. And we got there, we were separated, like the left side of the fight card goes left in the warehouse or whatever that place is in the building. And the right side goes right. The guy told us, and my opponent, I don't think he understood him. So he ended up sitting with me all day in the cage where we were supposed to warm up and wait for the fight. Yeah, we were talking, and we even watched the first fight together and through the cage. And yeah, then we fought. And the best part for me from the fight, apart from the fact that I took part in such a fight, is that I fought to the very end. I couldn't fight anymore, and I lost when I had no more strength, no more cardio, nothing. That's when I lost the fight, and that's for me that's the most beautiful part of it. And that's why I'm proud of it, no matter the loss or anything. And the fact that I fought such an animal, the guy is like, he looked like he got hit by a car and he kept going forward. And that's what makes me glad that I did it. You know, it wasn't a lame fight. I did what I could. He did what he could. He turned out to be stronger. Like he had better cardio. He was like, he's unstoppable. I think in his mind, he's fucking unstoppable. There were no bricks or crowbars for me or hammers for me to use against him. So I lost the fight in a beautiful way for me. Like I got knocked out. I didn't even remember how I got there after that. And after the fight, it was all cool. I remember sitting with my opponent, drinking the same water, and like talking and laughing about it. He was all wrapped up with his head, and I was all swollen up. I had blood coming out of my ear, and everything was bruised up. My hands were like, I couldn't put my wedding ring back on for like 2 days, 3 days or something. And yeah, the next day I went home, sat in my car, drove back. I had to like wait until 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't fall asleep because I had a pretty fucked up concussion. I knew what was I supposed to do, and I couldn't sleep. I was too excited, you know. The adrenaline was pumping. It was all. I couldn't take a shower. I was sitting on my bed in my hotel room for like 5 or 6 hours, and like this, you know, I was stiff as a mummy. Couldn't do anything. Then I found some energy and got into the shower, got cleaned up, and eventually I went to sleep. I slept like for 3 or 4 hours, got up, went to breakfast, and went home. Yeah.
Amazing story, and an amazing achievement.
Well, I'm trying to keep it simple the way I saw it. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to paint it in the color that it wasn't. It was pretty raw. It was challenging. It was tough, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I did it. You know, no matter if I only did that one fight and no more fights, I have something to be proud of. You know, because King of the Streets, not everyone has the balls to do it. You know, that's something. You know, and to go there and win, and I don't know, and fight a couple of times, 3 or 4 or 5 times, that's totally something else. But one time to fight there, it's a big thing.
Yeah, it is a big thing. It's a special achievement, and as you say, you should be very proud of that. You know, yeah, absolutely, I agree. Talking about that, do you think that you'll go back there? Do you think that you will fight again, or do you think that you're going to focus more on like other areas of your fighting?
Well, I hope to fight again over there, and because there's no use in doing it only once. It's like
Yeah,
I know that a lot of people just go there, do it once, and they have it in their CV or their biography, and they're like, "Yeah, I fought at King of the Streets," but I would like to do it multiple times. I would really like to do it multiple times. And like 6 months later, there was a couple of months later, an organization with the same rule set showed up in Germany, and I signed up. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I told my wife, "Yeah, I'm signing up." Like, yeah, she was the only. My wife was the only one who knew that I was going to fight at King of the Streets. She bought the pay-per-view and watched it, and she's my only true fan when it comes to fans. And I did a fight at Pure Violence. That's the name of the organization. It was pretty nice, pretty neat. Not too big event, but it was okay. It was pretty well organized. Not, I don't know. It's yeah. The only difference between them was that they had mats on the floor. I didn't know it till I came there, and they said, "Yeah, we were doing it with mats, no concrete floor or anything." Okay, yeah, it's crazy with the mats. It's a cage and where you go in and there are no rules in fighting. So yeah, I did that and I won that fight. I had a good opponent. He was a lot heavier than me, but he wasn't lucky for me. He wasn't into wrestling or grappling. He wanted to stand and bang, and I don't know, pretty much luckier. I hit him first pretty good, and he fell down, and that's how I won it.
yeah, amazing. Well, the ultimate tests, getting into something as brutal as that and amazing achievements. It's a great insight into those organizations, and how they work. Moving as well into talking about a couple of other things here. You've also competed in K1. When we were setting this up, and we were talking. You mentioned about competing in, I think, K1 and kickboxing. So for
Yeah,
people to find out, people want to find out a bit more about you and about those fights. Let's talk a little bit about those two fights. How they went down. I know you mentioned one was in Serbia,
yeah.
and one was somewhere else. So
The one in Serb. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say let's talk about those. Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
well, the one in Serbia, I lost that fight, and it was against a pretty much overly experienced opponent. He took me to school in 3 rounds, and I lost that fight sadly. And then in the meantime, I moved to Germany in 2018. The first thing I did was obviously to look for a gym, but my job was a shitty job. It was a construction job where you work like 12, 13 hours a day, and you just can't. You don't have the time to train. You don't have the time to sleep. And I'm an immigrant. I had to do it a shitty job to for a start. I even slept on a. I lived in a basement of a house. I slept on the floor for the first 6 months, and then it wasn't possible for me to train. Then I brought my wife, and everything got a little bit better organized, and found a gym not far from the apartment that I found, and I started training there. But the job turned even more shittier, took even more of my time because I had to drive and drive back home, and it was time consuming too much. And so I quit kickboxing for like a year and a half. And then I saw King of the Streets. I made a mistake with King of the Streets. I wasn't really prepared for it. I had no cardio for it. I was preparing for like 2 weeks for it, like running, and I had no gym access, like running and I don't know, shadow boxing or whatever. And I went there, did the fight, and it turned out the way it turned out. It turned out much better than I hoped for it. I knew that I would go there and someone will get carried out. I got carried out. Doesn't matter, but I did what I wanted. I did it under the conditions that I wanted it to be done. And then I did the pure violence fight. And then we moved again. I found a new job in the meantime. And now I live like 5 minutes away from my job. I can train whenever I want to. This apartment is much better. I have a small gym in my basement. They got set up. So, and I found a nice gym like 10, 15 minutes away from here. I started training there, pulled out some, how to say, I lost a lot of weight, like 10, 15 kilos. 15 kilos I lost. And my coach started taking me to like other gyms for sparring sessions and stuff like that. And it took me to a really hard sparring session where I got really beat up, but I stood my ground, and he told me, yeah, next week we got to fight for you. I was like, wow, that's nice. Let's go. And I went there and won it. That was in February. And now I'm fighting this Saturday again. And I have another fight scheduled also. So let's see how this works out. If I don't get too injured or something like that, I'll fight the next one right away. That doesn't matter. But yeah, K1, I'm thinking of it like something to keep me sharp, because I'm hoping, because I see a future for myself in bare knuckle fighting, probably bare knuckle boxing. Yeah. I would like to do that, because I think that's the future. That's something relatively new to open masses of people. You know, people have been fighting bare knuckle for ages. My first fights in my life were not, I didn't go home and bring my gloves or anything. We were fighting bare knuckles since we were kids, you know. But on TV, on YouTube, and so on, it's relatively new. You know, Britain or UK or Ireland or whatever, they are the mecca for bare knuckle fighting right now. And now you have some organizations in Scandinavia, which I'm following, watching. They have good fights also. And they started in Serbia doing it. They started doing it in Hungary and all over Europe. They brought up Latvia, if you know what it is, like the crazy form of Muay Thai, in short. You have BKFC in America and stuff like that. And I think it will be something big in the next 5 or 10 years. I think it will grow. Hopefully, it will grow. And whatever, I would like to see myself doing that. That's something that I see myself doing, because it's raw, and I feel comfortable fighting that way. You know, it's because that's mostly what I did. I don't have so much experience with glove fighting or something like that. I fought in the streets and got beat up people or anything. You know how it works, you know, in the stands in football or anything. We're men, we fight. And that's what I think I will be doing, and I hope that I will be doing. I'm working on it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I agree. I mean, you know, it's a sport that's growing hugely all over the world, you know, so to see you being part of that would be amazing. I think the future is bright for yourself, actually. You know, if you know what I mean, like you know, you're getting these different fights in there, and it sounds like you're on the up and up, and especially testing yourself in like King of the Streets with, you know, pure violence first, you know, and then going into K1 is very cool. It's a different way than a lot of people do it. So you know,
I did it the crazy way first.
That's the way, you know, but that will help you in the long term, you know, because it's great experience, you know. So I love that, man. I love that. I mean, really, you know, you've given us a great insight into, you know, your life, your career so far. I'm sure there's a lot more good fights to come, and definitely looking forward to, you know, seeing you part of those, seeing you in the ring, bare knuckle. Anytime you come over here to the UK, you'd be very welcome. I mean, you know, we love it over here, like any type of fighting. But I think anywhere in Europe, anywhere you go, there's some good fights out there, because bare knuckle's getting bigger and bigger. So definitely. But no, I just like to say like a big thank you for your time, and it's really good to tell your story, because I know like with your fighting journey, you're just starting out with it, but as it grows, there's some big things out there, and you know, when you've got more fights, you know, you've done more fights again, we can do like a part two or something, you know,
Yeah,
like
hopefully. I'm working on it, and I'm fighting for my dream, like unintended. I stayed in touch with my opponent for King of the Streets. He's a stand-up guy. Yevgen is a beautiful human being. You can see he is brave and everything, and he's an interesting guy. And I recommend you to get in touch with him. He's also I think he would have something to say, you know.
yeah.
And
Well, he's the one he's like a fitness model as well, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah,
he's the guy from this T-shirt.
yeah, the blood. I
Yeah,
know.
thank you for your time, and thank you for your attention. Thank you for considering me. As I said, I have practice in like half an hour, a little over half an hour, so I gotta go too. And thank you. I hope we'll talk again, and keep up the good work. Thank you so much. You're the first one like pointing attention to me, pointing the light to me. Like I will never forget this. Whatever happens in my career or whatever, I'm grateful forever for this. It was a pleasure talking to you. It's a beautiful thing to do from your side. Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.